Hi, I'm Elaine.Bayless, the voice of reason with Inspire Coaching, and this week we're talking about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and we're talking about the third horseman, which is defensiveness. Now, defensiveness is when you're warding off an attack, either real or perceived, which instantly brings up the question, if your spouse is coming at you with contempt or criticism or an attack, are you not supposed to defend yourself? And that's an excellent question. It is healthy and appropriate to defend yourself against contempt, criticism, or any kind of verbal abuse. That's very important. I want to be very clear on that. You do need to defend yourself. However, healthy defenses consist of doing things like setting boundaries, enforcing consequences, and making requests. So in that case, it would be along the lines of, if you're going to call me names, I'm not going to have this conversation. Or I'm not going to have this conversation with you until you stop yelling at me. Or, to use a more extreme example, if you break something, I am leaving the house with the kids and not coming back until you've taken an anger management class. Those are healthy and appropriate defenses. Now, obviously, if you're in an abusive marriage, you really need to get advice from a professional. I recommend you call a domestic violence line. But in a regular marriage where there is no abuse, there are still times when you need to defend yourself, when you are being criticized or treated contemptuously or dismissively. And that's what we're talking about here, because healthy defenses are fine. It's this being defensive. That's a lot more like acting like a seventh grader, okay? So being defensive is a very immature response. And that's what Dr. Gottman is referring to when he talks about defensiveness as the third horseman of the apocalypse. He is not talking about setting healthy boundaries or responding appropriately to language that is inappropriate. He's talking about just having this like defensive stance, like always ready to take offense, always ready to just throw back down, have a fight. And I've got an example. So, for example, your spouse might be really frustrated and, say in a loud tone of voice or yell, gee, would it have killed you to put away the clean dishes from yesterday? I have to do everything around here. And, that tone of voice, that criticism, would it have killed you to put away the clean dishes? That's critical. That's harsh. That is not a constructive, positive way to voice his or her frustrations with the fact that you didn't put the dishes away. So, an appropriate response might sound like this. That's unfair. We both work hard. I apologize for not putting the dishes away, but I don't appreciate your attitude. Another response might be, I'm not going to have this conversation as long as you're yelling. When you're ready to talk in a normal voice, we'll discuss the dishes. Repeat as necessary. This is a very important one to repeat, because if you engage at all past this point, then you're undermining what you've just said. So, they say blah 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 blah, blah, and you say, I am not going to have this conversation while you're yelling. After you've had time to calm down and want to talk in a normal voice, we'll discuss the dishes. That's completely appropriate. That is not being defensive. That is enforcing healthy boundaries and respect in your relationship. Okay? And if it helps at all, think about it in a professional setting. If your boss was yelling at you, you would be well within your rights to leave the room, say, you know what, I don't appreciate your tone of voice. If you continue to yell at me, I'm going to have to talk to HR. So you kind of think about that, if that's a helpful analogy for you. Now, going back to what is defensiveness, back to the original, your spouse yells, would it have killed you to put the clean dishes from yesterday away? I have to do everything around here. A defensive response would be, if you even did half the housework, I'd think I'd died and gone to heaven. Another defensive response would be to point the other finger. You said you would put the dishes away. Or to counterattack. Oh yeah? Well, would it have killed you to put gas in my car today? Because I noticed my tank is empty. Another thing would be a personal attack. You are so anal retentive about the dishes. They're clean. It's not like we're going to get cockroaches if clean dishes sit out. So you can see how all those responses have that kind of little, like that seventh grader quality about them. I know that I am, but what about you? Or I know you are, but what about me? Just kind of in that way where you're going to you will deny responsibility, claim that it's the other person's fault, counterattack, all of those sort of really immature defensive. That's defensiveness, and that's what's really harmful to your marriage. I like to think of it as defensiveness as being preoccupied with your own innocence as opposed to standing up for yourself or trying to resolve a disagreement. If you're trying to resolve a disagreement or stand up for yourself, your innocence or your responsibility or whether or not you're to blame, that's not the issue. The issue is enforcing a certain level of dignity and respect or trying to resolve a valid disagreement. Defensiveness is like just being so prepared that you're right, you're innocent, this person is wrong, and you're just going to go at them and unload with both barrels, right? That's defensiveness. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's given you something to think about in terms of how to resolve some of your more heated discussions. And if you have any more questions or would like to talk to me, I would love to hear from you. So please check out my website at soulcourse.com and or shoot me an email, guide@soulcourse.com. I'd love to talk to you. Thanks. This is Elaine Bayless, the voice of reason, helping you create a reality that works.